And in keeping with tradition, the annual Labor Day parade got underway this morning. But the parade didn't finish at Exhibition Place, as it usually does, because of an ongoing labor dispute between locked-out workers and the venue's Board of Governors. Unifor wanted to show solidarity with the workers by not crossing picket lines.
The importance is standing with the people who build this city, who run this city, who make this city work. We have people who clean in our hospitals. We have steel workers here. We have mill workers here. We have the entertainment industry. Torontonians love going to the CNE, love going to entertainment events that are happening on our waterfront. Well, we need workers who can run those events and make those events happen.
Well, I think it's so important to celebrate all the gains we've made in the labor movement for working people, but it's also important to remind ourselves that there's so much more we need to do. There's always fears of losing some of the gains that we've made. So I'm here to celebrate working people and celebrate the fight for building a more just and equitable Canada.
The parade was followed by a rally at Lamport Stadium.
You're watching Global Toronto. This is Global News at 6.
There was a show of solidarity with those striking workers at this year's Labor Day parade. A sea of red made its way down University and Queen Street, but bypassed Exhibition Place, what is traditionally the last stop. Instead, the parade ended at nearby Lamport Stadium. Also top of mind at the parade, the ongoing Nafta negotiations.
We're talking about precarious part-time work. We're talking about wages. We're talking about labor standards. We're talking about workers in the industries in Canada, about ensuring that we're not being left behind. We're talking about raising the standard of living for Mexican workers. We're talking about ensuring that the straight migration of good manufacturing jobs from Canada to Mexico is going to stop. So today is an opportunity to really reflect about opportunities and about the future.
Canadian and American officials resumed talks Wednesday in Washington to try to reach a new trade agreement.
For many of us, it is a holiday Labor Day Monday. For workers, it is a call to action.
They took to the streets today in celebration of how far the labor movement has come. But with a high-profile lockout blocking their regular route, a visual reminder of how far they say there is to go. CTV's Zuraidah Allman reports.
They marched in celebration. A tribute to the gains of working-class people.
Whether it's organized labor or whether it's workers that don't have unions, the bottom line is it takes working people to make our economy run, to make our province run. And so I'm here to walk with all of these great workers and say thank you for everything you do each and every day.
The parade, a long-standing tradition that this year in the city broke with tradition, bypassing the Canadian National Exhibition. Over the weekend, talks broke down between the Exhibition Place's Board of Directors and Local 58, the union representing stagehands at the CNE. They've been locked out since July. Unifor vowed not to cross the picket line.
Today is a day where we recommit to each and every one of us that when one of us is in struggle, we all come together as an organization.
While there is much to celebrate in the labor movement, Unifor's president reminded his members it's also about recognizing there is more to do when it comes to labor rights and equality.
I want you to think about solidarity. I want you to think about our union moving forward. But more importantly, I want us to think about how we continue to move the political agenda and as we steer the politics to a more inclusive society.
Zuraidah Allman, CTV News.
This is CBC Late Night News.
Today's Labor Day parade in Toronto took on a special significance for unionized stagehands picketing outside the CNE. As unions from every sector in Toronto got together to march, IATSE Local 58 took the opportunity to drive their message home. Our Ali Chasson has more from the parade route.
The Labor Day parade is usually a symbolic rally of union solidarity, but today it's much more than that.
This is a huge statement.
Unionized stagehands say that the city is contracting out their work. Here's a glimpse at how that debate's going.
Workers' rights are being impugned right now. They are being trampled on. There's a lockout at CNE of IATSE 58, and I think that the City of Toronto, by recognition of even posting Labor Day right here on Nathan Phillips Square, should be able to bring people back to the table to negotiate to a resolution.
We've done all the events here, and to be locked out and to put out to the street in favor of corporate greed and different interests that do not make this a public space, but make it all private.
I hope that they will be back at the table as scheduled. I think it's tomorrow, and I hope that each day that they're there, becomes a day that we're closer to a settlement.
People have been picketing outside the CNE gates for the entire duration of the fair, and it being Labor Day, nobody here is about to cross that picket line, and usually the parade ends up there.
This year, because of the lockout and picket line, there will not be a Labor Day parade entering the CNE grounds as in previous.
And so our message today is exactly what's being yelled behind me: solidarity, working people matter.
And today, they have all of Toronto's unions behind them, literally. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
For decades, thousands have marched on Labor Day and took part in the Labor Day parade, but for the first time in years, the parade route was altered for the reason of showing support for CNE workers. Now, as you can see, they're picketing across the CNE right now. Now, rather than ending up here at Exhibition Place, celebrations were moved to Lamport Stadium in show of solidarity for locked out workers, and the mayor found himself caught up in some of that anger.
Anger is what we're dealing with right now. Anger, the fact that it's taken us even this long to get back to the table, yet alone to try and bargain something. I think, these people are united in this fight. They see what this fight's about, and they see that this is about an attack on us as opposed to what this day is supposed to be about celebrating us.
Among the 25,000 people who showed up to the parade was Mayor John Tory, and that wasn't sitting well with some walking the route because of the ongoing labor dispute between the city and the union representing stagehandlers at Exhibition Place. Tory saying he showed up to the parade to stand in solidarity with unionized workers.
I'm here to show my support. I have, I think, generally a good relationship with organized labor, especially the people who serve the city, whether it be our QP workers or the police officers, firefighters, and others. And I respect collective bargaining and respect the labor movement. They have their job to do. I have my job to do. And sometimes those jobs come into conflict. But I respect the leadership and the people that serve us, the individuals. And so that's why I'm here today to show my respect for what they do.
I don't think Tory should be invited to the parade today. The City of Toronto, led by Mayor John Tory, locked us out and have been attacking workers' rights. If John Tory wanted to end this, we could have had this over. But right now, he hasn't decided to end this, so I don't think he should be around the Labor Day parade. This is a celebration of workers' rights, and what they're doing right now is attacking workers' rights.
Despite the labor stoppage, the show did go on at the X, with the Board of Governors bringing in other staff to set up concerts and staging. The union has been without a contract since last December. Striking Exhibition Place workers have been on the picket lines since July. Now, talks did resume this past weekend, but they have been locked out since this past weekend, but after 12 hours of negotiations, now the union and Exhibition Place Board of Governors are expected to resume talks tomorrow.
You're watching Global Toronto. This is Global News at 11.
A show of red. Thousands of Torontonians take part in the city's annual Labor Day parade, choosing to break from tradition to make a point. More on that story coming up ahead. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Shalima Maharaj. It is the end of a summer tradition. The CNE closing its doors for this year earlier tonight. But this time it hasn't been all smooth sailing for the X, with the labor dispute and weather teaming up to hurt its bottom line. Camille Karamali has more in tonight's top story.
The last day of the CNE usually a roller coaster ride of emotions.
I'm excited, he's sad.
The kids are heading back to school.
Excited.
Why are you excited?
Because I get to see all my friends. Because I can get to see new friends, a new teacher.
With mixed feelings.
No,
Why are you sad?
Because I don't like school.
But it hasn't been sunshine and rainbows for the CNE this year. Not much sunshine at all, in fact. During the 2.5-week fair, about a week of it saw wet weather, including opening day.
Rain, heavy. This is a great grand opening for the X.
The CNE marred by a labor dispute as well. Exhibition Place's Board of Governors locked out about 400 stagehands and technical employees in late July. Many of them have been picketing at the entrance grounds after months of negotiating with the city.
It seems that the city's moving their goalposts and saying, even though you've addressed this, now we also want you to address this and this.
Global News reached out to the chair of the Exhibition Place Board of Governors and haven't received a response. But in August, Councillor Mark Grimes said the union has refused to discuss any of the major bargaining issues that Exhibition Place has presented at the negotiating table.
I'm delighted by the fact they're still negotiating, and I encourage them to keep negotiating because that's the only way these things get resolved.
The two sides set to meet at the bargaining table again on Tuesday. The X estimating it'll lose $1.5 million because of the labor dispute. But all's well that ends well. A sparsely attended CNE for the most part saw people flocking in on the last day.
I mean, the weather certainly helps.
And for many, it was about keeping a tradition alive.
It's his family tradition to come on the
Yeah,
last
we
day.
always come Labor Day. That's what we've done for years.
Camille Karamali, Global News.